Stop trying to remove your suffering. Suffering doesn't need to be removed. You can't remove suffering. The desire to remove suffering is the very same energy that created the suffering to begin with. So any desire that you have to remove suffering is actually coming from suffering. And you can't add more suffering to suffering in order to remove it. Obviously, it doesn't work. But what can we do then to surrender this natural desire to want to remove our suffering? We have to see it as not a problem. We have to see suffering as something that isn't actually going to kill us. The thing that I would suggest is to really investigate, what is it about yourself that you want to kill? And what is it about your suffering that you want to remove? This is something that goes completely under the rug, under the radar. I used to sit with suicidal people. I used to sit with them, either people who had just tried to commit suicide or people who were contemplating it. And it was for a mental health charity. And one of the things that are always common in people who are suffering is that they don't want to look or investigate the suffering. They don't want to look at it. On an extreme level, it's completely rejected. And this rejection coincides with the desire to get rid of it. You only want to avoid something if you're not interested in it, if you think that there is zero importance in looking at it. And this is the common thread amongst everybody who wants to remove their suffering, which is pretty much everyone who suffers, is that they find no purpose or no reason to investigate the suffering. This is huge to realize, because your suffering needs to be addressed. And if you do not address the suffering directly by being interested in it, the suffering will continue because it will just be avoided. So if something's avoided, what do you think you would do? You walk around it. You avoid it. You don't look at it. You try to pretend it's not there. Now, the problem is that it's there, but you're not going into it. It's there, but you are rejecting it. You are pretending that it's not there. But the crazy thing is that you're doing a terrible job of pretending it's not there because you keep trying to remove it. You're doing everything you can to remove your suffering. The real trick is to realize that you don't have to remove it. It's not going to kill you. And to the extent in which you're interested in it, actually interested, like, oh my God, hold on a minute. I suffered every single day of my entire life, pretty much. Why don't I try the one thing that I've never done? Stop trying to get rid of it. I know, it's mind-blowing, but it works. It sounds crazy, but it works. And what's going to happen when you stop trying to remove the suffering is that you're going to be very, very comfortable with it. And there's nothing more comfortable than when you're not trying to remove it. There's no other way to do this other than to think of it as the last straw. This is the last straw. I'm going to befriend it. I'm going to invite it. I'm going to say, you know what, suffering, I've tried to remove you my entire life. Why don't you come to me? I invite you to stay. Pour it a cup of tea. Pour it a cup of coffee. Bring it into yourself. Ask yourself, why is this suffering arising? This is so interesting. Now, we want to convert ourselves here. This is the most important part of this video. We want to convert from sufferer to explorer, from sufferer to adventurer. We're now adventurous. We're playful with our suffering. We allow it to be there. Think about it. Imagine this crazy species of bird has just arrived in your garden. And all your life you've tried to pester it to leave. You've tried to get it to go. But now you're going, oh, actually, it's quite an exotic bird. It's been there for a long time. Every time I try to kick it out, it comes back. It's got wings, so it just flies back over. There's not much I can do about that. It lays eggs, it creates babies, they all keep flying in. Nothing I can do seems to get rid of it, so why don't I study the bird? Why don't I study the bird of suffering? never thought of that before. Maybe if I understand why it's there, maybe then I will realize it isn't actually a problem. And we're not doing this to get rid of the bird. We're inviting it now. We don't care if it stays. If we do this in order to get rid of the bird will know. The bird will go, oh, you're studying me to get rid of me. I'm just going to lay more eggs and breed more, and your garden's going to be covered with my babies. So you can't do this to get rid of it. The bird will know, it will run away. The minute you aim your binoculars on it or try to investigate, it will just run away. You have to truly befriend it. It's the only way it will allow you to investigate it. Because again, you would be plotting and planning, and they feel that. Your suffering will feel you're plotting and scheming in order to get rid of it. So allow yourself to convert. I'm converting you right now from sufferer to explorer. You're now an explorer. Think of yourself like Indiana Jones. You're exploring the kingdom of the crystal suffering skull. You are finally, for the first time in your life, not trying to get rid of it. If you'd like guidance on making this transition to the explorer and actually understanding how to explore effectively so that eventually our suffering becomes redundant, you see? Or the suffering becomes redundant, click the link in the description. I can invite you in. I'd love to see you there. I host meditations every week, and there's a free course, The Science of Happiness. Yeah, I'd love to see you there. Cool. Have a beautiful day, guys. Take care.